Hi Year 5, just made a little video to talk you through how to write up your experiment from the observations that you did on Wednesday. So on Wednesday you would have looked at this video all about soluble and insoluble materials. It was only a short video but really informative, so if you want to re-watch that today before you do your write-up, it might help you recap some of the technical vocabulary in it, and that will be really helpful. So on Wednesday you watched the video and you looked at the classroom ideas section where it asks you to investigate what happened when you mixed some different materials with a water solution. Okay, so you would have chosen maybe different materials to what I chose. On here it suggested milk, vinegar, oil, salt, sugar, flour. You could have chosen any of those and you will have written down your findings. So you're going to write those up today. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. So you're going to need a title, all right, for your write-up. I've used an investigation into soluble and insoluble materials because that's exactly what we did. We investigated materials and found out whether those materials were soluble or insoluble by trying to mix them with water. So you need a method first. Now methods are very simple. It's literally exactly what you did in chronological order, in the order that you did it. All right, so for example, you could be writing something like, I measured 50 millilitres of cold water in 3 separate containers. Notice I've been really specific with how much water I used in my containers because that is important. In the first container I added a tablespoon of flour, in the second container I added a tablespoon of oil, and in the third container I added a tablespoon of salt. I stirred each container for 1 minute. So that would be my investigation that I've done. Like I said, you may have used different amounts of cold water and you may have used different materials. I've been very specific as well with the amount of material that I added to my water, right? And I've been very specific with how long I stirred them for, and notice that I stirred each container for the same amount of time. Then you'll need to write up your results. Okay, so your results are, well, did your material dissolve in the water? So a suggestion could be to put it into a table like I've done here. So I've got my materials here that I was testing or observing, and I can simply put a tick here to if the flour was soluble, did it completely dissolve in the water? Or if it wasn't soluble, if it was insoluble and it didn't dissolve in the water, I'd put a tick there. So I just need a tick in either column for each material. So I'm not going to fill that in because I don't want to give anything away because you've done your own investigation. Then it comes to writing up your conclusion. Now, your conclusion is different from the results. The results are just what happened. So don't mix up your conclusion with your results. That's why your results are better off in a data form, just in a table. Your conclusion is explaining those results in your own words. So I've started off by saying, for my observation, after stirring the oil for 1 minute, it seemed to be dissolving in the water, but it soon separated from the water and rested on top. This means that oil is insoluble in water. So my conclusion here is that oil is insoluble in water. It doesn't dissolve in water. I would then go on to explain what I've concluded about the flour and the salt. Okay, now if you've rewatched the video, it gives you some good clues on that video what to look out for. So for example, it talked about if the solution becomes cloudy. If it's cloudy, it means something in particular. I'm not going to tell you what it means. Go back to the video and have another look if you can't remember. If the solution is clear, that tells you something as well. So try and use your technical vocabulary that you've learned from the video. Okay, when you've written up your conclusions, I'll set you a couple of extra challenges that you might want to do. So extra challenge 1 would be to name the variables. Now, whenever we do an observation or an investigation or an experiment, we always have different variables within it. We have controlled variables, and these are what you kept the same. So within your experiment, you may have tested 3 different materials or more, but each time you tested a different material, something would have been the same. Okay, I'm not going to give any more away. So what did you control? What did you keep the same? What was the independent variable? So each time you tested a material, what changed? Okay, so you had different independent variables. See if you can work out what they were. And then you had dependent variables. So a dependent variable is what you are observing. What were you looking for when you mixed those different materials with the water? All right, what was the dependent variable? So you can fill those in. You can find your control variables, your independent variables, and your dependent variable. There's only one of these. Okay. Extra challenge 2. You can go back to the video and answer these questions. What is a solvent? In your own words, can you explain what a solvent is? What is a solution? And when you did your experiment, did you make any solutions? So have a think. Really important that you know the difference between a solvent and a solution. Okay, so keep going back to the video. It's only a short one, so keep referring back to it if you want to. And I'm really looking forward to seeing your write-up of your experiment that you've done, your observation. All right, have fun, Year 5. See you soon.